Why do I have so many books? She would shock me with a cattle prod. What up, my channel? Welcome back to another video. I'm Jessie, and you're watching You are watching the biggest book haul that has ever taken place on Bowtiesandbooks. That is right, this book haul is gonna have 100 books. 100. 100, okay? It's gonna be Ben Franklin.
100 books.
So we're not gonna do fanfare, we're gonna get right into it. There is going to be a playlist of my previous book hauls in the description box below if you want more books after this, but I feel like nobody's gonna want to see a book haul from me ever again after this video. I know I'm not gonna want to see one. These are the 100 books that I have hauled in the last 3 months. So it's unacceptable is the point. So I want to give a big shout out, a big thank you to all of the publishers who sent these books, and also to all of the subscribers who sent these books. It just means so much. It is a huge, immense privilege to receive books from y'all and from publishers, and I thank you both from the bottom of my heart, as black and dark and shriveled as it may be. So the first book that I'm going to talk about here is The Sword of Kaigen. This is by Emma Wong, and it was sent to us by my beautiful, beloved Varpu. Thank you so much for, this wasn't on my wish list, but Varpu saw it and thought that I would enjoy it because they absolutely love this series. I'm super excited. At the edge of the Kaiganese Empire live the most powerful army of the world. But when an outsider arrives and threatens Kaigen's peace, a boy who has trained his entire life to be a powerful warrior finds his life turned upside down. And at the same time, we are following a girl who has trained her whole life to be a housewife. And these stories intersect. It sounds brutal and fantastical and bloody, and I am so freaking geeked for this book. And we have Black Cake. This is an arc. The book releases in February of next year, and I'm so curious about what this is about. So after Eleanor Bennett dies, her 2 grown children are left with a puzzling inheritance, a traditional Caribbean black cake made from an old family recipe with a long history, as well as a cryptic voice recording. And so the book is about them figuring out what the heck is going on. That sounds so freaking good. Then we have The Kindred, which this cover is freaking stunning. This is an Own Voices intergalactic royal romance. I love the royalty trope and black royalty. Look, I don't get to see that very often. I am geeked. And I missed Dow's first book. I forget what it was called, but everybody seemed to really love it. And I'm excited. Okay. I cannot freaking wait for this. I love sci-fi, black sci-fi stories, and sci-fi, but make it magic. Give it to me. Varpu also sent us LMNOP, which is funny because I did a little book shopping for my birthday. And I picked up this book, but didn't end up buying it. And then count on Varpu to just send it knowing exactly what I needed. Just like, what a freaking sweetie. So this is about a girl who's living on a fictional island, which I find a strange way to describe, but whatever. And apparently her island is threatened, and she has to kind of like go on this mission with her friends and dog to save and fight for herself. It sounds cool. Then I have People from My Neighborhood. This is just a really freaking awesome cover, and it is a collection of interlinking stories that range from the magical to the mundane, and I'm pretty excited about it. We also have The Four Humors, which I've heard really good things about, and just look at this cover. I love, I don't know what this art style is called. I see it done via certain tattoo artists where it's very geometrical and you'll have a face, but it will be like cut in half. And I dig it so much. If y'all know what that style is called, please let me know. So this is a book about a young woman who had very concrete plans for her life, and then she is diagnosed with a chronic illness. And there's more to the plot than that, but it sounds amazing. Then we have The Vegetarian, which I've read and very much enjoyed. It's a weird, kind of hazy feeling story about a woman who decides to stop eating meat and how it just upends her husband's life and the lives of their family members because they just can't accept that she wants to do what she wants with her body. And it's really, really interesting. Varpu also sent the Red Abbey Chronicles, which I have not read or heard of. So there are 3 of these books, honestly, and the covers are really interesting. So this is a Finnish YA fantasy, and I'm so excited to get into a Finnish fantasy. I don't think I've ever read a Finnish fantasy before in my life, and I'm pretty geeked about this. Then we have one of my favorite ways to consume books, which is children's literature. So picture book, we have The Shape of Home. I have a copy of Eve. This is a series that I'm very much enjoying by Victor Laval, who is arguably my favorite comic book author and one of my favorite writers of all time. This is issue number 3 in the series. They know that how much I enjoy Victor's books, and so the dude at my comic shop saved this for me because it was slightly damaged, and so he just gave it to me for free, which is pretty dope. I of course also have 1 and 2 of Eve. I was lucky enough to find volume 2 of Elsewhere being sold at my favorite independent bookstore for $3. I love this comic. It is kind of like a fantastical imagining of what happened to Amelia Earhart and her adventures. And instead of dying and disappearing, she ends up in a magical land, and it's pretty freaking cool. Then we have Crude volume 1, which is it looks like a dark action comic. I don't know anything about this, but I really, really, really liked the art style, very bloody, very gory, very stark and bleak. And so this is kind of about a man whose son is murdered and he journeys to take revenge.
We love a good revenge story.
And then we have From Under Mountains. I don't know anything about this other than that the art and colors was done by Sloan Leong, who is just one of my favorite writers and illustrators. She wrote Map to the Sun, which I did a dedicated review on. And it's definitely going to be on my favorite list, favorite book of the year list. It's that good. So anything that Sloan works on, I am immediately going to support. And then we have The Tithe, volume 1. Again, I don't know anything about this one, but it looks very interesting. Across the United States, mega churches are being robbed of their cash donations, and a hacker group named Samaritan is taking credit and donating the stolen cash to charities. So it's a crime thriller. That sounds pretty freaking good. Then we have Faster Than Light, a sci-fi story. This is volume 2. So obviously I'm gonna have to check out volume 1 before I get to this, but it's set in space. And comic books set in space, graphic novels set in space, that's it for me. One of the ones that I'm the most excited about is Alien Nation. This was being given away for so cheap, and I had to pick it up. And this is from a Venezuelan illustrator. Dark and spooky and creepy, and it's giving Junji Ito. Come on. I can't wait to read this book. The last 2 books that I have here for my children's book haul is The Big House and The Little House. Honestly, I'm so excited about this. I'm probably going to be reading this for the holidays because it's just giving me the cozy vibes that I want because it's Christmas. And then This Old Dog. Look at the dog. Honestly, I'm never going to be ashamed about actively reading children's literature because it helps me so much with my anxiety. And it always is a good reminder about why I started reading and why I love it to this day. I have In Every Mirror She's Black, which is supposed to be a sharply written story about the lives of 3 Black women living in America and in Sweden. I have The President and the Frog, which is by Carolina de Robertis, who of course is the famous author of Contoras. I'm so excited about this book. And I'm excited to finally be getting into that author because she's so beloved. This is a book that I bought recently at Barnes & Noble because this Barnes & Noble was closing and everything was 25% off, which is just so freaking cool. And this is a poetry book. It's called New Names for Lost Things. And I absolutely cannot wait to read it. I also bought Crime and Punishment for $2. I want to build up my classics library. Classics is also where I first got into my love of reading. I used to read them for fun. I read this for fun in high school. And so I'm really excited to revisit Crime and Punishment with the lens that I have now as an adult. And then I also picked up A Gentleman in Moscow. This is a book that I started once.
Oh my God, what's in my eye?
I started A Gentleman in Moscow once at an airport bookstore, and I was very, very, very interested, and my flight got called, and I decided not to buy it. because I struggle to buy books that I haven't read at full price. Because what if I end up hating them? What if there's problematic content in it and then I just gave a really problematic author my financial support? I don't want to do that. But I picked this up at a used bookstore and it was so cheap, so I felt comfortable doing so. I was sent 2 copies of The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois. It is an 800-page epic novel, but it is supposed to be phenomenal. Like, the profit's good. And I'm mad excited. It's supposed to give the Water Dancer vibes, where we're following like this long epic familial journey across generations, which is one of my favorite tropes. As long and like burden toilsome these books can be, they do have a very special place in my heart. Okay, so here is the second copy I have of The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois. This is the hardcover, and I'm not sure which of these I'm going to keep, but there's that. I have The Republic of False Truths, which is described as a multi-voiced work of elation and despair. Not my life. From one of the most foremost writers in the Arab world comes a new novel banned across much of the region, a devastating work of fiction about the Egyptian revolution that takes us inside the battle raging between those in power and those prepared to lay down their lives in the defense of freedom. The publisher sent The King of Infinite Space, which is a queer retelling of Hamnet, which is automatically blowing my mind because I read Hamnet earlier this year, and Maggie O'Farrell's Hamnet, and it, again, like top book of the year list energy. It was that good. I still think about it so freaking frequently, and I'm definitely excited for a queer Hamnet retelling.
Why can I not speak?
And then we have this gorgeous freaking book, absolutely stunning. I believe that it's pronounced Hk Choi, and just this cover, whoa, like look at this cover. Are y'all seeing what I'm seeing? And this is a book that captures the raw terror and exaltation of motherhood. I really enjoy books about parenthood. We have Detransition Baby, which the publisher sent. They already sent me a hardcover copy.
Okay.
I can't. So this is a book about 2 trans people who decide to raise a baby together. And obviously, it's going to be amazing. Then I have Black Girls Must Die Exhausted. The publisher sent this to me along with the companion novel. And so I'm really excited about reading both of these books. And this is a book about a Black woman who has like really big plans for her life. She's turning, I believe, 33, and then gets diagnosed with a chronic illness, and everything changes for her. Now, these 2 books are being given away in my neighborhood for free. There's Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney, which everybody has been loving. And then Maxwell's Demon. I picked up this book because I had not heard anything about it, but it just, something about it seemed intriguing. And I think what is intriguing about it is that it's a story within a story, a book about books, and that is one of my favorite tropes. Obviously, I have to mention the 6 books that Book of the Month sent this month in December, which is the Holiday Swap, a Christmas contemporary. Then we have Olga Dies Dreaming, a book that I'm literally dying to read. Then we have John Green's Essays on a Human-Centered Planet, A History of Wild Places, which is a thriller about a cult that a man goes to search for a missing person, and then he becomes a missing person himself. Then we have A Flicker in the Dark. This is a thriller about a woman who was haunted by 6 girls who disappeared when she was a kid, and then 20 years later girls start disappearing around her once again. And then we have a memoir called Somebody's Daughter that has gotten a lot of love and attention this year. So this is my Book of the Month haul for the month of December. And if you want to get your first Book of the Month box for only $5, use the code JOLLY. That code is going to be linked in the description box below, along with, the sign-up link. Publisher also sent Pearl by Josh Malerman. I love Josh Malerman. This man breathes books. He's released 2 books this year, and then he's got another book coming out that next year. It just got announced. And I'm like, when is he finding the time to write this much? It doesn't make sense, but I'm excited about this because killer creepy woman named Pearl, she's a legend kind of thing. Like if you say Candyman's name in the mirror 3 times, he'll appear, that sort of thing. I'm trying, again, not to know too much going into it, but I'm here for creepy Pearl Ghost. Then I have a book of the month thriller called The Neighbor's Secret, and this is a thriller centering a woman's book club. My awesome friend Chandra of Where the Reader Grows on Instagram sent Mother May I the latest of Jocelyn Jackson. I really loved Never Have I Ever, which was a thriller also centering a woman's book club. It was pretty dang good, and the twist shook me to my very core. It also made me incredibly angry. So I'm very excited about this one. I have Someone Like Me by M.R. Carey, who is the author of The Girl with All the Gifts. This is the prequel, I believe, to The Girl with All the Gifts, and I'm super, super geeked about it. The Girl with All the Gifts is one of my favorite horror books of all freaking time. It's a zombie horror and an apocalyptic horror, and I do not care for zombie anything. I just never have. I find them very boring. So that's how you know The Girl with All the Gifts is the bee's knees. I forgot that the publisher sent Such a Quiet Place, which I read recently on Scribd. I ended up giving this like a 3 stars. This is one of the most disappointing books. I guess I can't say that I'm disappointed because I
Wasn't expecting much going into it.
This book was horrible, like 1 star horrible. Like potential best, worst book of the year horrible. It's awful. And then I got myself Sin Eater. This is one of the books that I picked up for myself at that Barnes & Noble closeout sale. It was one of my most anticipated releases of last year. And this is a book about a society where when women are punished for any sort of transgression, they have to become sin eaters and consume the sins of other people and hold those sins in their bodies. It sounds weird and creepy and cool, and this cover is so freaking terrifying, and I can't wait to read it. Not another stack of thrillers, cause this is thriller. So we have The Chain. I got this from Pango Books because I had Pango Books, so I essentially got this for free. And this is Jordy's, like one of his favorite thriller books of all time. I want to read this for a Reading Red and Black Books vlog because for some reason I really want to do a vlog where I read red and black books. You just dropped off your child at the bus stop. A panicked stranger calls your phone. Your child has been kidnapped. The stranger then explains that their child has also been kidnapped by a completely different stranger. The only way to get your child back is to kidnap another child. Why is this so complex? Then we have Verity by Colleen Hoover. This is a very famous book, a very polarizing book. I'm going to be reading this for a video where I experimentally read books that I think I'm going to hate. Because the second that I hauled this book, both Mayana and Mika DM'd me to be like, you're gonna hate this book, Jessie. So I can't wait. We have Night Soldiers by Alan First. This is a historical fiction war story. I am boring. It's set in 1934 Bulgaria, and I can't wait. I like war books. I don't know why, but I do. We have another one of Jordy's favorite books. This is Fleischman is in Trouble. This is a book that everybody was talking about last year. Everybody was obsessed with it. I had negative interest in it, but so many people whose opinions I trust said that this book was good that I'm finally like, okay, I'll check it out. It's also supposed to be incredibly hilarious. Also being given away for free in my neighborhood was The Song Is You, a novel by Megan Abbott, who is one of my favorite thriller writers. She is incredible. And apparently this is one of her backlist books where she writes, it's like Hollywood, New York City noir, kind of like 1940s-esque, I believe.
It's supposed to be evocative and sensual.
It's set October 7th, 1949, and we're following a starlet who I think disappears after a night shoot at a Hollywood studio. And that sounds freaking amazing. Maybe I should do like a noir setting reading vlog. Let me know if you're interested in seeing a vlog like that. Like where I read books from this era, kind of centering like glitz and glamour. I was sent Ghosts, which is described as an international bestseller. I have not heard of it, but it has been blurbed by Candace Carty-Williams and Taylor Jenkins Reid and Matt Haig. So what are you about? This is a smart, sexy, laugh-out-loud romantic comedy about ex-boyfriends, imperfect parents, friends with kids, and a man who disappears the moment he says, I love you. Not all of my exes. A beautiful, amazing subscriber sent Permanent Record by Mary Hk Choi. I hope you enjoy this book. Y'all's YouTube is one of my favorites from a fellow NB, Chelsea, aka Chelsea Thomas Writes. Thank you so much, Chelsea. I really appreciate you sending me this book. I cannot wait to read it. Honestly, my favorite, I say this in like all my book hauls, but my favorite part about y'all sending me books is this little slip of paper. I save these. I either tape them on the inside of the book, or I have a wall in my bedroom where I keep all of these. So if you ever do send me a book, which you are under no obligation to ever do, I genuinely mean that. But if you do, please include a little note, because like they mean so much to me. They mean more than the book itself. They really do. And I just like, oh my gosh. Yes. So Mary Hk Choi, if you're not familiar, is known for writing these like really gritty, unapologetic stories centering women who are going through stuff. And she's a very like emotional writer. Book of the month. Oh, the back got damaged. Ooh, I hate living in hell. This is The Sweetest Remedy, which is a romance that Book of the Month sent. And I'm really excited to read it just because I don't get to read Black romances very often ever. So I'm geeked about this one. Why do I have so many books? Then we have Dowry of Blood, which I read because Jan literally forced me to. Like, she sat me down, she tied me up, okay? She like put my neck in a vice grip, and she held the book before my eyes and physically turned the pages. And then if I wasn't reading fast enough, she would shock me with a cattle prod. Thankfully, I read this book, gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and really, really enjoyed it. And this is a vampire story, polyamorous romance about this woman who is trying to escape her abusive partner that, you know, turned her into a vampire. And it has so much beautiful commentary about abuse. There's so many things. The writing is gorgeous. It's amazing. It can be a difficult book to read, so be careful of that going in, but I'm really, really glad that I read the story. The publisher sent Search History. This is an ARC, and the story sounds very weird. It is supposedly about AI and virtual reality and what it means to be Asian American. And I think that there's like a cyber dog chase at some point. Like, it just sounds so absolutely insane. So I want to read this for a reading weird books vlog, because that sounds amazing. Then we have In the House in the Dark of the Woods. I hate this title more than anything. Why? Why did that need to be the title? But I do love this cover. Again, I want to read this for my Red and Black books vlog or my Reading Weird Books vlog. This, of course, was raved about by Kayla, Books and Lala, and it was sent by a subscriber. Okay, so I don't know if y'all will be able to see this, but those little, these two covers here, those are pictures of his previous book covers, and they're really cool. So I don't know who his cover illustrator is, but they are killing their job. They're thriving. Varpu also sent Ring Shout, which I already have read and have a copy of. This is an amazing Black horror story centering women who hunt down Ku Klux Klan members that are actually monsters, and it is really freaking good. I highly, highly, highly recommend the audiobook for that book because it is told in the oral tradition, and if you are able to enjoy audiobooks, that is definitely, in my opinion, the route to go should you be able to enjoy audiobooks, because they're not accessible for everybody. Then we have A Spindle Splintered. This was sent by the publisher a while ago, and I just never got around to it. It is by Alex E. Haro, which is an author that so many of you absolutely adore that I've never read. This is a new story of Sleeping Beauty. So this is a Sleeping Beauty retelling, and I'm very, very excited about getting to this whenever I do end up getting to it. And then we have An Unseen Body, The Unseen Body. This is a doctor's journey through the hidden wonders of human anatomy, and this cover is so freaking stunning. And it's not too thick. I think that's what turns off a lot of folks regarding nonfiction, is that some of the books are just too darn thick. And they're like, I can't stay invested for that long. But I think this book is the perfect length, and I'm so interested in anatomy and medical studies, especially those that differ from traditional Western views of medicine. I'm so freaking geeked about this. Then we have a book by someone that I'm going to dare call a friend, and that is Kimri Martin. If you were on my channel last year, you will probably know that The Antidote for Everything is one of my favorite books. I fell head over heels for that book last year, and this is Kimri Martin's new book, and it is called Doctors and Friends. I love this cover. Kimri Martin is a medical physician and just an amazing, wonderful person. And this book is about doctors in the pandemic. And it is a fictional novel, but it is set around doctors working in a pandemic. And I am very, very excited to enjoy the story. We have a poetry book that was sent, and this is Cry Back My Sea, 48 Poems in 6 Waves by Sarah Arvio. Look at this cover, you guys. Like, y'all, it's beautiful. What more could one ask for? What more could one want? It, like, honestly, I'm so excited to get cozy and read this and just enjoy, because I rarely read poetry anymore, but this book is beautiful. And then we have Losing Eden, Our Fundamental Need for the Natural World and Its Ability to Heal Body and Soul. Oh, she's cute. This is described as a very meticulously researched book about the profound impact that our consciousness has on our bodies. And I'm so geeked about it. Oh, please explain to me why I hauled so many books. So many books, you guys.
All right, here we go.
So next up, we have Fangs by Sarah Anderson. This is a book that so many booktubers were like, you gotta read. And I never was really interested in it because I like graphic novels and comics that are like superhero stories. I love horror comic, really intense horror comics, or very intense sci-fi fantasy stories with like a pretty serious plot line. Fangs just wasn't really catching my eye. And again, this is another book that Jan forced me to start reading. And I loved it so much because I was reading it at her place that I had to run out to Barnes & Noble and buy my own copy. And I can't wait to read it in its entirety. I have the feeling that this book could make me cry. Like, that's how much I was enjoying it. And it's about a love story taking place between a vampire and a werewolf. The publisher sent Kith and Kin, which is based off of Critical Role. And I posted this on my Instagram and so many of y'all freaked out. And this is by a non-binary author. So this is going to be a NB Book Club pick for 2022. And I'm very, very geeked about that. We're going to start voting over on NB Book Club for the January and February and March picks pretty soon. So make sure you're following the Non-Binary Book Club Instagram if you want to be a part of the voting process. I believe that they're twins, but they're siblings. They've always been outsiders, and in this big bustling city, they get tangled up with this guild of thieves and indebted to them, and they have to fight for their freedom. Then we have Thorn, which I am just so freaking touched by the message that Caitlin left. This is from Caitlin, who runs Monstrously Bookish on Instagram. And like that note just like really, really, really touched me to the end of my dark little heart and back. So I just want to give like a big thank you to Caitlin. Now, Thorn is a book that I'm really excited about. Thorn is a YA fantasy from a Muslim author. I don't go for YA fantasies too often unless they are Black Girl Magic books, but I picked up this book at a bookstore once and I started reading it and I just was like really, really invested. I loved the writing. So I'm excited to get more into this series. Varpu also sent Jewel Parker Rhodes's Ghost Boys. And this is a book about a boy who is shot by police for playing with a toy gun. And then he comes back as a ghost. I don't know if I'm going to get to this book or when, simply because these kinds of books are very hard for me to read, obviously. And I always reach more for my like fantasy and lighthearted contemporary and like falling in love stories instead of Black trauma stories, because I had to read so many of them growing up and they're just really hard for me. But I am so touched that Varpu saw this and thought of me and sent it my way. And this cover is really, really beautiful. Then we have Dragon Pearl by non-binary author Yoonha Lee. This, of course, is going to be an NB Book Club pick for sure, for sure, for sure. I am so freaking excited about reading this, and it also has a non-binary character, which is also pretty exciting. I don't know if this is a YA or a middle grade fantasy. I'm pretty sure it's a middle grade fantasy, actually. I also picked up these 3 books. I've got Ringer, Loser, and Maniac Mcgee by Jerry Spinelli, because I am 9 years old and I just never grew out of my childhood. I was sent the latest from Sean David Hutchinson, who writes really fantastic queer stories. And this book is called Before We Disappear. And it's about a grumpy musician. Why do I always do that? I always say musician when I mean to say magician. I don't know why. I don't know who started that, but we live here now. So this is about a magician who, unfortunately, despite his best instincts, falls in love. And it is fantastical, and it sounds really good. The publisher sent me The Perishing, which I have a book of the month edition of, so I'm not sure which I'm going to keep, but this is a story set, I think, in the 1930s, and we are following a immortal Black woman who is trying to figure out who she is. And I love that story. I can't wait to read it for a Black Girl Magic vlog. Like, that plot sounds top tier. Oh my god, there are so many stacks. I still have 3 more stacks to go.
Not me crying over my privilege.
A wonderful subscriber sent me The Ones We Are Meant to Find, one of my most anticipated releases of this year. The cover is so beautiful. Now, they have asked to remain anonymous, but I you know who you are, and I just wanted to say thank you for this note because it really touched me. It was nice to like open this book and get to read it all over again. And I can't wait to actually read this book and have your note inside of it. So thank you so much to you know who. This has been described as sci-fi at its best. I think that it's also queer, and I'm so freaking excited for this one. Then we have The Last Cuentista. I never got around to reading this arc, but like, look at that cover. So freaking stunning. It's so beautiful. So I'm not sure what this is about because with this, this publisher doesn't like put synopses on the backs of their arcs, but it is described as a stunning SFF debut. And honestly, that is all I need to know. That cover really is all that I need to know. And especially it being a debut, I love supporting debut authors. Absolutely. Then we have an arc of For All Time. This is a romance book. Tamar is a musician, a warrior, a survivor, and Fayard, he's a pioneer, hustler, and a hopeless romantic. They have lived 1,000 lives, seen the world build itself up from nothing, only to tear itself down again in civil war. They've even watched humanity take to the stars. When they finally discover what it will take to break the cycle, will they be able to make the sacrifice? Doesn't this sound amazing? What? It's giving the Old Guard vibe. So if y'all seen that Netflix movie, I've seen it 3 times. And I cannot wait for the sequel. The sequel is going to start filming in the first half of the year. So I'm hoping it'll be out at the end of the year, but it's probably not going to be out until 2023, which doesn't matter. As long as I get the sequel, that's really all that I care about. Then we have The Nature of Witches, which I have the publisher sent a paperback and a hardcover. And there's also like this really beautiful candle set that they sent, and each of the candles have different seasons on them and different smells to correspond to those seasons. And they also have bookmarks. It's just like, it was such a really good set, and I really want to do a reading vlog for it simply because of just the mood. And this is a fantasy story that I believe is like set in the woods. It's got elemental magic, which is my favorite type of magic system. It's YA, and I'll read it one day eventually. And a subscriber sent Sick Kids in Love, which is a romance that takes place between 2 disabled kids. And I did not know that this existed, and I'm so excited to read it. After Malka sent this, again, thank you so much, Malka. After she sent this, I started hearing hype about this book, and I'm so excited for whenever I finally get to it. The note that Malka wrote on the inside was like really cute, so thank you so much, Malka. I was also sent The Immortal Boy, which, what is this about? Who knows? Not me. The Immortal Boy tells the story of 2 intertwining stories, one of a girl who lives in an orphanage, and then one of a family of 5. And I'm excited to see how these intersect. That's one of my favorite tropes, where we have alternating perspectives, but we don't know how they braid together. And watching those stories converge, I find so interesting. So I'm really excited about that trope being present in this book. I was also sent From the Desk of Zoe Washington. This is a middle grade book. Zoe is described as a wondrous heroine who inspires a deeper love for food, family, and friends, and it advocates for social justice. This was blurbed by Jewel Parker Rhodes, who wrote Ghost Boys. So that's fun. Then the publisher sent me Things We Couldn't Say, which is a story about a young bisexual Black boy. Stories that we don't get enough of, right? I'm so excited for some own voices, Black bisexual representation. I cannot freaking wait. And this cover is stunning. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm so excited to show you these books. They are Raybearer and Redemptor. I This was one of my favorite books of last year, and I was so excited to read Redemptor. I am going to be doing a dedicated Black Girl Magic reading vlog where I reread Raybearer and read Redemptor. And I just can't wait. I can't wait for the adaptation. Like my whole body is saying yes. And I'm just so geeked for it. So this is a young adult fantasy where we are following a girl who is tasked to get close to the prince and kill him. And in this process, she finds family. The magic of this land is so cool. It's just everything about this book. I can't wait. I cannot freaking wait to read this book. Oh my gosh, this is our second to last stack. Gosh, I'm praying to my ancestors for the strength to go on. So this is a book that I hauled recently. It is Hexarkate Stories by Yoonha Lee. This book, it tells stories from the Nine Fox Gambit series. And I read Nine Fox Gambit earlier this year. Didn't understand a word, but really loved it and gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And I'm so excited because General Jadao is a character in these stories and I love him. He's my favorite character from Nine Fox Gambit. He, like me, suffers from dyscalculia and twin spirits who can't do mathematics, you know? I picked up 2312, which I'm pretty excited to read. It isn't a book that I've heard anything of, but it's just old adult sci-fi and I'm down for that. It's so this is set where science and technological advances have opened gateways to the future at extraordinary lengths, but in the year 2312, a sequence of events will force humanity to confront its past, its present, and its future. A subscriber named Erica sent Who Fears Death. I love Nnedi Okorafor. I'm so freaking excited to, I get to interview her pretty soon and I'm so geeked about it. This is set in post-apocalyptic Africa. I love post-apocalyptic settings and this is a big favorite of her books for so many people, so I can't wait to read this. Obviously, I will be reading it for a Black Girl Magic vlog. Addie from Books and Tea Time sent The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Niveau. This is probably going to be an NB Book Club pick at some point. I read the audiobook and I just fell in love with it and I'm really excited that they sent me a physical because I get to reread it and annotate it in the physical. So thank you so much to Addie, and the note that Addie left was really, really touching as well. They said that they were completely blown away and got themselves a copy for annotating and wanted to share it with me. And it just it's so sweet. I love y'all so much. Then Penguin sent The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the illustrated edition. And look, oh my God, I just love this cover. And I haven't read this book since high school. I have not read this book in forever. I'm so freaking excited to read this. I believe I read it before the movie came out and I really, really enjoyed the film. So I'm excited to reread this and check out the movie all over again. Just look at this. It's so pretty. I can't wait. I can't wait. Subscriber also sent The Tango Root Palace, which is one of my most anticipated reads of this year. It is by Marjorie Liu, who writes the Monstrous graphic novels, one of my favorite graphic novel series of all time. Like, the Monstrous comics are amazing. They're so freaking good. And I believe this is a collection of stories. Readers will want far more time in each world. And I'm so excited. And it's about dangerous women, a body-stealing sorceress, a bone-collecting witch. Just Marjorie Liu is such a good writer. And I'm so excited. Then I was sent The Sisters of Reckoning. I was sent this by the publisher. And this is the sequels to The Good Luck Girls, which is a Western fantasy. This is by a non-binary author. So yes, we will be reading these books for Non-Binary Book Club at some point. But yeah, I'm really, really excited about getting to this book. I love Western fantasy books so freaking much. And I need to do, again, you're going to see a dedicated Black Girl Magic vlog for that. The publisher, Orbit, sent me a bunch of books. They sent Son of Storm, which I read, gave 5 out of 5 stars. Really, really loved this book. They also sent The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. This is going to be my first of his books, adult fantasy book. And I didn't get around to it this year. I know I'm not going to, but I'm so geeked. This was one of my most anticipated releases. It is Norse inspired. I definitely do enjoy a good Norse inspired fantasy, and I can't wait. I just found this random book of the month bookmark that says I tend to get lost. Same. Tor sent me this series by Charles Stross, which is called Dark State. It is a new tale of the Merchant Prince's multiverse. So this is a sci-fi mystery. In the near future, two nuclear superpowers are about to collide across timelines, and two women are about to find themselves on opposite sides of the confrontation, and they are mother and daughter. That sounds freaking sick. I'm really excited about these books. When I'm in the mood for some intense adult sci-fi, these are the books that I'm going to be picking up. Oh my gosh, this is the last stack. I cannot believe that this is the last stack, and it's short. Thank
Goodness
gracious. This I got at my local indie for $1. And I'm so excited to read this. This is Into the Wild by Jon Krakauer. I read this in high school for fun, and I loved it, and I watched the movie. The movie was good, but I'm really excited to revisit Alex McCandless and to see if I love this book as much as I used to. Of course, this is a book about a boy who, it's a real story. It's about a boy named Alex who is very disenchanted with the world, and he is a student of Henry David Thoreau's teachings, and he decides to go to Alaska and live in the wild, and he dies. I'm excited to revisit that at some point. Then we have a Black Boy Out of Time. Again, a beautiful, 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 beautiful cover. So stunning. It's so stunning. It's a memoir of Black queerness, and I'm very, very excited for it. Then the publisher sent The Book of Hope by Jane Goodall and Douglas Abrams with Gail Hudson, and it's a survival guide for trying times. Climate crisis, global pandemic, loss of biodiversity, and political upheaval. Of course, Jane Goodall is one of the most famous naturalists in the world. And I am not gonna lie, I don't know if I'm ever gonna read this book. Not gonna lie. But then I have Greedy, Notes from a Bisexual Who Wants Too Much. This book came out in October, and it is a memoir. Excited about like the commentary and what it means to be bisexual in a world where biphobia just runs rampant. This isn't a book that I'm particularly interested in, just because flipping through it, the writing isn't catching my eye, and I hate reading a memoir that I know I'm not going to like because I feel like I'm gonna do that author a disservice. So I might be unhauling this. Then I have a book that I'm borrowing. It is My Grandmother's Hands, Racialized Trauma and the Pathway to Mending Our Hearts and Bodies. This is a book by a licensed social worker, I believe. And my neighbor lent me this book. He and I have amazing conversation. We talk to each other about everything. And he thought that I would really enjoy this book and benefit from it. So I'm really excited to read this. Then the publisher sent Her Honor, which this is an arc of a book that came out in October. And it's about a Black woman's experiences being a judge. So it's part memoir, part primer on America's court system. I don't think I'm ever going to read this. I'm not going to lie. It's not because it's not a great, fantastic story with critical subject matter. I just don't think I'm ever going to read it. But if it sounds interesting to y'all, I highly, highly recommend you check that out. And then the publisher sent a memoir of exploring light and life in the deep sea. This is called Below the Edge of Darkness. Now, some of you may know, because I've mentioned it a few times, I'm terrified of the deep ocean. But I'm a horror fan, and that means I love being scared. So I am excited about this nonfiction book about the deep ocean. And then the last book that I have here is A Guide to Crushing Girlhood, Feminist AF. And this seems pretty freaking dope. It seems dope. Totally will be unhauling this. I'm not the audience for this book. This book gives lessons that I personally have already learned. And I think that this book would be so much better in the hands of somebody younger than me who hasn't had the privilege of learning these lessons. I'm so glad this book exists, and I know it's gonna mean so much to a Black and brown girl somewhere. Like I think this book is so important. It's about like exploring sexuality and learning about polyamory and learning about gender and what it means to have natural hair and keeping classmates from touching it. And these things that like I really struggled with growing up, but didn't have a guide like this to help me through it. Wow, why do I feel like I ran a marathon? That's it, yo. That is the biggest hook haul. My mouth is so done with talking. Like, can you tell? The biggest book haul I've ever done here on Bois and Books. What book are you the most excited for me to read? What book do you think I'm going to hate, and tell me why? And if you made it this far in the video, why don't you comment? Is there a truck emoji or a garbage truck emoji? because this was a lot. I don't know. Just leave an emoji. I'm so tired, y'all. I don't care what you leave in the comments section. I'm so tired. I think what I'm gonna do is drink a really big glass of water. My voice hurts so much. I don't know if y'all can tell. It hurts so much. And I'm gonna cuddle up on the couch with Akasha. She doesn't like to cuddle, but she's gonna have to cuddle. And we're gonna watch The Grinch. And I'm gonna have hot cocoa, and it's gonna be a vibe. So that's gonna do it for this video. If you want more content from me, you should check out my Patreon, where I upload exclusive videos for my patrons only. Sometimes I do bonus videos that is open to all patrons, from the $3 level all the way to the $11 level. Also, this month's Netflix party is going to be Passing, the movie based off of Nella Larsen's book. And then we are also doing a bonus Netflix party for Netflix's first gay Christmas romance, and that one is called Single All the Way. Super excited for that. And then our group book for the month is Iron Widow, where I'm going to be filming a spoiler-filled vlog. And then the chosen video of the month is going to be Books I DNF'd. We have a really good time, but all of my social media links are in the description box below. Stay safe. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm tired.